schematic of a malicious prosecution that was formed against me by the state of Florida, and Mike Satz, Bruce Colton, on behalf of Jorge Benitez Merlo, okay, and it extended to 2 counties. This is a picture I drew in 1994 about a maniac judge and a bailiff. That could be Judge Fred Berman. This could be Bailiff Wright. Right here is a Seminole Indian hypocrite. And those are the 2 state's attorneys with the innocent man in the middle. I drew that in 1994. Funny enough. So my incident started in Broward County that was pressed against me by Jorge Benitez Merlo, who was a cop that beat me up. And I got the opportunity to call 911 while the process was going on because he fabricated a situation, and he works for the Wilton Manors Police Department. 911 took his side and hung up on me because they were actually inside. The agency was inside. The call center was inside the Fort Lauderdale Police Department, which is a bias. And in the Fort Lauderdale Downtown Intake Center, it was hell going in there too. There's a lot of stuff going there. And Spinelli threatened me and called me a Cuban. Said, why don't I go back to Cuba? And I'm not even Cuban. And he threatened me in the corner of the jail, and they were beating people up and everything in there too. So then you got the 19th District Court that had me. And then Mike Satz was the one that was filing. He filed assistant state's attorney on me 3 in a row. Okay, and I kept accepting the oaths of them, and then they would disappear, and then the next time there's another one, and that was the process of exhaustion, okay? And there was a substitute judge, Fred Berman, who told me I wasn't in court to my face and put a $10,000 warrant on my head, okay? And then the Broward County Sheriff's Office was showing up to my family's house and my mom's house, you know, and I was on the run for like 6 months, and I never had a record other than traffic citations, and I had a signed contract to be on the property where I was working painting. You know, all this is in other videos, but this is just a schematic here, and it takes too long, and I don't have the resources and the energy and time and programs to edit everything. And Donna was a secretary for the assistant stage judge, and she was refusing my paperwork because you're not a bar member, and, you know, like getting nasty with me. And Miss Hudson was in the courtroom with this guy, and she says, oh, when we're done with these Southerners right here. So she was biased, you know, using like, you know, discriminating terms. And the chief judge was notified, and I have all that notification, and they ignored the letters, and I have certified letters and return receipts saying that they received them. So those are constitutional violations right there. And on behalf of the state of Florida, you know, to protect that man right there. So the state of Florida was this fictitious plaintiff, you know, fictitious victim, because there was no victim. And Rick Scott actually controls the cops, and he could have did something about it. Pam Bondi is the attorney general, and she could have did something about it, because Mike Statz is the state's attorney for Broward County, and the Florida Supreme Court was notified. The Florida Judicial Qualifications and Performance Committee was notified, and they take 3 weeks, and they're like, well, we've never seen this where somebody tells you you're not in court to your face, and we don't know what to do. It's unusual, so we're going to do nothing. So they're just a crappy center right there, just to waste people's time in the process of exhaustion and red tape. And the Florida Commission on Ethics, you have no ethics. The FBI's Governmental Corruption Agency told me to go to the media, and that's what they would do because they couldn't do nothing about it. And the federal public defender in St. Lucie County, I'll get to that in a second, but right before they threw this out, okay, I fought without a lawyer myself. They wanted to give me time, and lawyers are bar members and they're biased. So right before they threw that out, this guy waits around the corner from my house, and, you know, Leland Squires, who's St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office, employee, an officer, had 2 vehicles, and once the insurance expired, and I was going to fix the motor in the van that expired, and then I didn't turn in the plate, so they suspended my license, but I had an existing insurance policy already, so that technically I was covered, and he arrested me 4 days later after he threatened me the first time. And then I went on my bicycle and I got the insurance, and the only thing I didn't have was a piece of plastic license. So he arrested me because of that after stalking me. And there's stalking charges against him too for another incident. So it shows that he's a malicious guy that does that. And his family should know he's a communist, and everybody else too. And that's the 17th District Court. And they put me under this judge who was a lady who was had an alcohol. She was drunk driving. She got arrested for drunk driving. And she had an unprescribed bottle of pills in her car, I think, and she got in a scuffle. Her alcohol limit was 2 point something, which is way over, and she crashed into some cars and took 3 cops. The report says to extract her from the car. She put up a fight, and she got a slap on the hand where other people would get years of probation and all this kind of crap. So, and then she was reelected on top of that. So she was probably, coerced to deal with me while they threw this out to keep me in there, while this guy kept qualified immunity. And remember, there's 3 at the same time, and he never showed his face because the Constitution says you have a right to face your accuser, and that never happened. So then the state's attorney for St. Lucie County is Bruce Colton, and he did the same thing. He filed one after the other, and I kept accepting their oaths, and then they would disappear. And one I saw in Publix on the subline, and she started crying when I looked at her, and she noticed I was in there. Because, those are kids there, and they're new at their jobs, and they're being made to do bad stuff by people like this to protect people like that. And people like this to protect and honor people like this because they're making money. So these people are bad. These people are bad. And they're in denial too. There's a constitutional violations right there. Okay, and the chief judge was notified there too. And in the St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office, I thought I saw State's Attorney's Office while I was delivering paperwork. I thought I saw Bruce Colton there, and I says, "Oh, Mr. Colton," and it wasn't him. And I says, "Well, I just thought I'd like to face the man that's bringing charges against me." So the man says, "Oh, well, are you in trouble?" And I says, "Yeah, there's trouble again." He says, "Well, you look like you deserve it." And they all started laughing, and I couldn't get the videotape, but that's in that office there. So these people are disgusting and they're evil. Okay, and the Florida DMV and the National Driver's Registry had suspended my license for something that happened in New York 10 years before where it wasn't handled correctly, and I had cleared it up with the paperwork, but they were negligent to look at the paperwork, so there was actually a lawsuit against me for damages. So 10 years after having a license in Florida, my license was suspended, and I fought a year for that and incapacitated for that, and I cleared that up too. So, the Department of Motor Vehicle, they sell you out. In a TC Palm and mug shots, they had me listed as a felon, which was never true. So there's a lot of slander and stuff in there. So, then they filed the 3 assistant state's attorneys. And I went to court 7 times on this, 7 or 8 times. And then, there's a whole story about when I was in front of the judge, and then the 3 bailiffs independently came to arrest me 3 times in front of my family just to, test me out. And they threw, the real judge, Mary Red Robinson, threw the charges out, and she told each bailiff each time they were putting cuffs on me, and I didn't put up a fight, and I just kept looking at her in the face. And, she says, "All right, you don't have to do that. That's not necessary. Release that man. He behaved himself here today," whatever. And so she threw out the warrant and eventually threw out the charges against me, and they released me while he kept qualified immunity, and I couldn't go after these people because I was in jail and going to court for the state of Florida for the year. And I went, I think, 11 times. And on the 10th time, I show up in court, and then she had a jury waiting for me, which I never, entered a plea. And I entered a plea on your behalf a while ago. And she kept telling, everybody in the court, "I'd just like to remind everyone how much of a disadvantage you are when you represent yourself like this gentleman here today," over and over, slander me to the court. I'd be there, I have an appointment for 9:30, and they keep me till 5. Sometimes the court rooms were empty, and they realized I had nobody going with me, so they use that to their advantage. And, so then she even rolled out a fake podium, because I wouldn't sit on the debtor's side, okay? And then I told them, if they're going to be slandering me, why don't you come in and see what's going on? So at the last second, the jury selection, everything was all botched. There's not enough time and not enough videos to talk about it. It takes a lot of energy. My whole life was destroyed by this shit. So, they let them at the last minute, and the jury was all seated. And they were looking at me and grinning at me, and they found me guilty. So she let them in just to say guilty, but they wouldn't even let me submit my evidence. And she tricked me into saying that, "Oh, you want to enter it all at once?" I'm like, "Yeah, well, we're not allowing any of it." I mean, fuck you, man. So anyway, Jonathan Ray Alford suggests, okay, the state recommends 30 days, Your Honor. And meanwhile, I'm surrounded by a sea of cops, okay, clicking cuffs and tasers, and I'm not a violent man. I was the only one in court there, on my own behalf. Everybody else was scared because the cops were chasing me around. They all were following me around and coming to my house and everything, so everybody was staying away from me. So And she says, well, I'm going to give you 45 because he said 30 days. Okay, so she knew that it would be what past the appeal. So then I'm in Rock Road Jail or prison for 32 days. I got released on good behavior. I had 2 hours of fresh air and sunlight the whole time. You know, bad food, all this stuff. I'm in there with convicts and people that actually hurt people and damaged people and stole things and, you know, destroyed stuff. And I'm in there for, you know, a fake excuse of a piece of plastic, ultimately all to protect this guy here. Okay, in 2 counties. And on one time, they had me going to court in St. Lucie County, I think it was the 4th, and Broward County on the 5th, and then back in St. Lucie on the 6th. And no one would do anything about it because they knew that they were trying to get me. So I took all the channels, and I spent like $1,000 in paperwork, notaries, and mail and all that crap, right? And while I'm in jail, you know, Darlene, you know, they don't know why you're in jail. That's the nurse right there. She wouldn't give me salt, and she was rude and nasty to me and judged me, so I filed a complaint about her. And then the head nurse, Patricia, comes in front of a correctional officer. Says, I should slap the shit out of you. Right in front of a correctional officer in jail, she said that. So she should be put away too. Okay, just like those people right there. Okay, so this whole thing, you know, it ended on January 5th. And then actually she recused herself because, you know, I didn't get no tickets. And then when they arrested me the first time, they threw the tickets in the bag of my clothes and stuff. So when I got out, I had 2 tickets that I never signed for in there. And there was no tickets issued at the time of my arrest or the stop anyway. So they post-dated, you know, predated tickets that were made post. So all this. And this guy actually made 2 police reports. And I got the first one and somebody stole it from me and my belongings. Okay, and then I filed and I got a second police report and it was changed. So they allowed him to rewrite a police report. Okay, and the whole incident lasted from October 20th, 2013 to January 5th of 2015. Okay, that's roughly 803 days, 803 days. My life, right? So basically, all these people and all this system is perpetrators, conspirators, co-conspirators, and criminals. Yes, they are, who aided and abetted each other to commit un-American acts against me using physical and administrative force, okay, which is red tape and everything else. I'm going to get to that in a second. Okay, so now all these individuals, okay, are trusted individuals under public oath and paid with your taxpayer dollars who committed ethical, constitutional, and United States Code violations, and they should be held accountable to suffer state and federal charges and consequences on behalf of the people of the United States of America. Just think, when they wrote a bond to the Treasury of how much money they got for me to process me, and then they threw it out. Okay, and all these people's salaries right here is probably millions of dollars over the course of that 802 days to try and prosecute me and ultimately use this person who shouldn't have been reelected in the first place and is actually a criminal, and if she was made to suffer the same consequences as anybody else that did what she did, you know, she wouldn't have been allowed to be a judge. She would have lost her license for probably 5 years, okay, and she would have been serving time for scuffling with an officer, going through drug courts and everything, and they gave her a slap on the hand. I have her paperwork for that. Okay, so here's all the stuff right there. You know, defamation of character, slander, exhaustion, false arrest, false imprisonment, harassment, threats of all sorts of kinds, administrative sabotage, cost of life, spirit, and security to me, battery, okay, excessive force, judicial malpractice, derailment, misuse of public funds, misuse of public resources, compromising the integrity of Florida, breach of contract, crimes against the American people, contracting theft, okay, for the tow companies to steal my stuff, you know, and involve them too, because then that's not really right for them to do that in the first place, okay, and it's all a violation of civil and constitutional rights, and that concerns you American people out there. And this is a process of red tape, okay, that they use to exhaust people, to make people, you know, sign their life away and give in and pay money to them, to pay money to the courts, because they're belligerent and they beat you up with administrative force, you know, and it's costing life and liberty for American families. And like, this is nothing. I have all the paperwork still. Okay, and it's compromising our integrity as Americans. And I made this at one time because while it was going on, you know, I was going to fly this over 95, and I had another big banner too, and I hand painted that. And you can imagine, like, my nerves were shot in dealing with all this stuff, and it was just like a treacherous situation, and it shouldn't exist. So the information that I give here about them filing 3 states' attorneys, assistant states' attorneys, and never showing up with your constitutional violations, okay, that defines a process of malicious prosecution. It is the anatomy of a malicious prosecution, and how the courts and the state and the cops play with each other to aid and abet each other to come down on us and violate our civil and constitutional rights. And people need to understand this here, because not many people go through this situation. They have something to hide. They can't work. They have things that they need to support. I lost everything. I lost the McDonald's contract as an artist that I had big dreams about, and it was my opportunity. And that's the night that that jerk beat me up. Okay, and he's got a record too. They should have never hired him. He's a warlord. He was too big and too violent to be a cop in that area to begin with. And I got another video on that, and I'll have more coming out because I'm not satisfied yet, and I can't get closure to it. And I had to leave the state of Florida because I just couldn't be around the circumstances and the memories, and my whole career had been thrown away. I liked my life before the way it was, and I was forced to stop on behalf of these scumbags. And, at the end of the day, a lot of people lose lives and family members and houses and everything. And I had a legal business. I was doing a rent-to-own on a house. I had contracts. I had a social structure, and it all fell apart. And it took a toll on my health and everything else. And here it is. It's 2020 right now. And October 20th is when it happened. And they filed it on November 21st, which is my birthday. Scumbags. Okay, you know what I'm saying? So, I learned a lot in this, but it shouldn't happen. And people need to take apart the way this works here and define it in everything else. And I guarantee there could be certain class action suits that can go against these people. And this guy right here, constitutional violations up the yin-yang. He should be put in jail. He should be put in jail. He should be put in jail. Okay? He should be put in jail. Okay? He should be put in jail. Okay, he should be put in jail. Okay, those people right there, he and her should suffer consequences. Okay, those people right there should suffer consequences. Those people right there should suffer consequences. The lady for there should suffer consequences. They should pay. They should pay. Okay, they should pay. Okay, they should suffer consequences. These people right here and here, they should be reprimanded publicly, reprimanded publicly, reprimanded publicly. Okay, those should be canceled out. They meet every 3 weeks. That's not efficient enough, because while they're pressing charges and doing all kind of stuff and arresting people 24 hours, you can operate from 9 to 4:30. That's a bunch of BS too. Don't forget about that. That's big stuff right there. And the FBI's governmental corruption, and you see, she was a nice lady. She says, look, I'm sorry, there's nothing we could do. I would go to the media. And this guy, I caught him outside of his building there because he knew who I was, I think, because I tried contacting him a bunch of times. I wrote letters to Antonin Scalia, too. And, he passed away afterward. Never got there's a lot of stuff going on. So then this guy says, look, man, I'm sorry. I understand and I know, but there's nothing I could do about it. And I'm like, okay, that's real. At least I got an honest answer out of him, And I don't have anything against the assistant state's attorneys, okay? And then during when I called 911, the other cops showed up and I let them off because they didn't even know what was going on. They just came up and he made it look like he was getting lynched. He made it look like it was a traffic stop. He ordered me around. He got pissed off and violent during the 911 call because I called the police on him. I asked for more, if he would have waited instead of being an asshole, and a supervisor or other cops came, who would have worked out the situation and everybody would have went on their way and whatever. But no, he had to be a dickbag. So this is where it's at, man. And I'm telling you, I was never a felon, too. So technically, those people should pay, too. Those people should pay, too. Those people should pay, too. That's BS, man. And my heart goes out to the people in there, not the criminals, but the innocent. I know there's a lot of innocent people in there like I was, and a lot of the workers in there that dealing with crap, because these people here make everybody have a bad attitude, okay, and they mess it up for everybody. And that's basically what it's at. I wanted to make a better video. I've been trying to get this out of my head for years and years, and it's just, it kills you from the inside out. And, I had to stop eating meat because of it. Because, I was grinding my teeth. My eye was jiggling around. I was confronting police officers and custom agents and even, security guards and, questioning what authority they think they have, what paperwork they think they have, just so I could learn stuff. Not condemning the people that weren't involved with me, but, so I could learn. And I did learn. And this is a really serious subject. And people need to get wise. People need to realize and recognize what's going on so this doesn't happen to you.